He had heard 100 legends about forgotten relics scattered across the galaxy, but this one felt different. He wasn't alone in thinking so either. The odd hum filling the cramped cockpit suggested the ship itself sensed it. This was a mission he'd taken out of sheer curiosity. But somewhere along the way, the air had grown tense, a weight he couldn't place, pressing down as if warning him to turn back. The signal pulsed again through his earpiece, a sound almost like music. He felt a shiver as he listened. It was faint yet powerful, a haunting melody that grew clearer as he neared the strange planet's surface. It wasn't human. He knew that immediately. It held an energy almost alive, like it was breathing, feeling, waiting. As he descended to the planet's surface, the hum in the cockpit shifted into a soft vibration that settled in his chest, matching his heartbeat as he approached the landing zone. The ship's landing was rough, but as the engines powered down, the sound grew stronger, flowing through the air like the slow breath of a giant creature. Carter felt an unshakable pull, drawing him deeper toward its source. After grabbing his gear, he stepped out into the quiet alien world, his eyes scanning the horizon. An odd mist curled along the ground, thick and silver under the dim starlight. The landscape felt hollow, eerie, like it was hiding something just beneath its surface. He followed the sound through the strange silence, each step drawing him closer to a narrow chasm in the rock ahead. The song rose in intensity as he peered down into the chasm, where a faint light glowed from somewhere deep within the earth. The path led downward, a natural staircase carved from jagged stone, and he took it without hesitation, feeling the pull grow stronger with each step. The air grew colder, the song louder, filling the cavern like a pulse in his veins. His heart raced with both excitement and a strange sense of dread. At the base of the chasm lay a hidden lake, its surface glowing faintly, a silvery light casting soft ripples through the water. And the song. It was coming from the lake itself, the melody alive and echoing in his bones. He knelt by the lake's edge, feeling the cool air drifting off the water. Without thinking, he reached out his fingers, hovering just above the surface as he felt the energy radiating from it. The lake rippled beneath his hand, and then he froze as a figure began to emerge from its depths. Rising slowly from the water was a woman with skin the color of twilight, iridescent and shimmering under the soft glow. Her eyes were wide and silver, and her hair flowed like liquid starlight, blending seamlessly with the lake. She was beautiful in a way he couldn't define, an ethereal presence that seemed both part of the world and separate from it. "You have come far, human," she said, her voice soft yet filled with strength. The song around them quieted as her words flowed through the air, carrying the same haunting quality that had drawn him here. Carter swallowed his curiosity, battling with caution. I followed the sound," he replied, his voice barely a whisper. "Who are you?" She regarded him with an unreadable expression, her gaze both piercing and soft. "I am Lyra, guardian of this lake and keeper of the relic within. My purpose is to protect it, and to ensure only those worthy may approach." Her words were simple, yet they carried a gravity he could feel in his bones. This wasn't a chance encounter. He had come here seeking answers, but he knew now that he had found far more. He straightened, meeting her gaze with a steady resolve. "I want to see it, the relic. I want to understand." A faint smile touched her lips, but her eyes held a solemn light. "To understand, you must first prove yourself. The lake holds trials, ancient tests that reveal one's heart and mind. Only those who pass may witness the relic's truth." A thrill of fear and excitement coursed through him, but he felt his resolve harden. "I'll face whatever it takes," he said firmly. Lyra extended her hand toward him, her fingers delicate yet filled with strength. "Then we begin, human. But know that the trials will change you. Once we enter the lake, there is no turning back." He took her hand, feeling a shock of warmth flow through him as her touch resonated with the song in the air. Together they stepped into the lake, its cool waters swirling around them as they moved deeper, and the song grew louder, enveloping them in its haunting beauty. As they descended into the depths, Carter felt a sense of wonder and fear blending into one. This was no ordinary journey. He could feel it in every part of his being. And as he held Lyra's hand, his heart racing, he knew that whatever lay ahead, he would face it with her. The water was colder than Carter expected, almost unnaturally so, as he and Lyra moved deeper into the lake. The silvery glow illuminated their path, casting eerie reflections that twisted and danced around them. Lyra's hand was firm in his, her presence grounding him as they waded through the depths. The song in the air changed, growing softer, almost mournful, echoing through the chamber like the whispers of lost souls. Carter felt a strange weight settle over him, a sense of unease creeping into his mind. Suddenly, The world around him shifted, and he found himself no longer in the lake but in a memory. His memory. He was back in the cockpit of his ship, the familiar hum of the engines vibrating around him, but something was wrong. This wasn't just a memory, it was real, as vivid and tangible as if he had been transported back in time. He glanced to his right, and to his surprise, Lyra was there, seated beside him, watching with an expression of quiet understanding. "This is your first trial, Carter," she said, her voice soft. "The lake draws out the memories we carry, the moments we hold on to, for better or worse. It forces us to confront what lies beneath, to understand the parts of ourselves we often choose to ignore." Carter swallowed, feeling a mix of confusion and unease. "And what do I have to do?" "Relive it," she replied simply. "Face it. Only by embracing your past can you move forward." He took a shaky breath, his mind racing as he looked around the cockpit. He recognized this moment, an expedition that had gone horribly wrong, a time when his ambition had clouded his judgment and put his entire crew in danger. The memory unfolded, and he watched himself, younger and more reckless, pushing the ship to its limits as alarms blared around him. He had been so focused on the mission, on proving himself, that he had ignored the warnings, dismissing his crew's concerns. The scene shifted, showing the aftermath, the damage to the ship, the injuries his team had sustained, the guilt that had weighed on him for years. He felt the familiar pang of regret, the shame that had haunted him ever since. Lyra's presence beside him was a comfort, her gaze steady and understanding. "You carry this pain," she said softly. "It lingers within you, shaping your choices, your fears. But to pass this trial, you must let it go." He looked down, clenching his fists as he took in her words. "I can't change what happened," he said, his voice rough. "I've lived with this for so long, it's part of who I am." She reached out, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "The past cannot be changed, but it does not have to define you. Release it. Carter, acknowledge the pain, but do not let it control you." He took a deep, shuddering breath, feeling the weight of her words settle over him. Slowly, he let himself relive the memory, the decisions he had made, the lives he had affected, the guilt that had become his constant companion. But as he faced it, as he allowed himself to feel the pain fully, he felt something shift within him, a quiet release that eased the ache in his heart. The scene began to dissolve, fading into darkness, and he found himself back in the lake, Lyra's hand still in his. He felt lighter, as though a burden he had carried for years had finally been lifted. "You did well," she murmured, her voice filled with warmth. "The lake has accepted your truth." Carter looked at her, gratitude filling his gaze. "Thank you for guiding me through that." Lyra smiled, a gentle, almost vulnerable expression. "We all carry our pasts, Carter, but sometimes, to move forward, we must face what we fear most." He nodded, sensing that there was more to her words than she was saying, as though she too carried memories that haunted her. But before he could ask, the lake around them began to shift, the water rippling as a new energy filled the chamber. The song grew louder, resonating through the water, filling the air with a sense of anticipation. Lyra's expression turned serious, and she looked at him, her gaze intense. "The next trial awaits," she said, her voice steady. "This one will test your connection, your understanding of what lies within." Before he could respond, the water surged around them, and the world dissolved once more, pulling them into a new vision. They found themselves in an alien landscape, a vast expanse of shimmering lights and towering structures that stretched into the horizon. Carter realized he was seeing Lyra's world, a place filled with beauty and complexity, a world that had once thrived but now lay in ruins. "This is my memory," Lyra said, her voice tinged with sadness. "My people once lived here, a civilization filled with life, with dreams. But we fell, consumed by our own desires for knowledge, for power. I am all that remains, the last guardian of what we once were." Her words filled him with a profound sorrow, and he felt the weight of her loneliness, the burden of being the sole survivor of a world that no longer existed. "I can't imagine what it must be like," he said softly, his heart aching for her. She looked at him, a hint of vulnerability in her gaze. To pass this trial, we must connect. Carter, you must understand what it means to bear this burden, to carry the memory of an entire civilization within you. He felt a surge of determination, a desire to help her, to share in the weight she carried. Show me, he said, his voice resolute. Let me see what you see. She nodded, her hand reaching out to touch his temple. The moment her fingers brushed his skin, he felt a flood of memories, images of her world, her people, the lives they had lived, the beauty they had created. But he also felt the sorrow, the loss, the guilt that lingered like a shadow over her heart. The experience was overwhelming, a torrent of emotions and memories that threatened to consume him. But as he held on to her, feeling the strength of their connection, he found a sense of balance, a shared understanding that transcended words. As the vision faded, he looked at her, seeing her not just as a guardian, but as someone who had lost everything, yet continued to endure, to protect the legacy of her people. We're not so different, he murmured, his voice filled with empathy. We both carry our pasts, but we don't have to face them alone. A soft smile touched her lips, and she squeezed his hand, a silent acknowledgement of their bond. The lake has shown us our truths, she said, her voice quiet yet filled with strength. And now, we face the final trial, together. As they stood at the edge of the lake, the song rose around them, a haunting melody that held both sorrow and hope. And as they prepared for the last trial, Carter felt a sense of purpose, a determination that went beyond his quest for the relic. He was bound to her now, to Lyra and her world, united by a connection that defied time and space. And together, they would face whatever lay ahead, their souls intertwined in a bond that could withstand even the deepest shadows. The song in the lake grew louder, reverberating through the chamber with an intensity that sent shivers through Carter's spine. Lyra's hand was firm in his, and he could feel her heartbeat, steady and resolute, matching his own. They had faced the trials of memory and connection, but this final test was different. He sensed it, a weight that hung in the air, an unspoken challenge that would demand everything they had. The water around them began to swirl, forming a whirlpool that stretched into the depths of the lake. The glow of the lake's strange light grew brighter, casting ethereal shadows that danced across the walls. In the center of the whirlpool, a crystalline sphere began to rise, pulsing with a brilliant, otherworldly light. The relic, Carter breathed, his heart racing. He could feel its power, a vast energy radiating from within the sphere, a force that was ancient and alive, filled with knowledge beyond his understanding. Lyra looked at him, her expression grave yet filled with a quiet strength. The relic holds the collective memory of my people, their lives, their dreams, their sorrows. It is both a gift and a burden, a legacy that I have carried alone for centuries. But to unlock its full power, we must bond with it, together. Carter met her gaze, feeling the weight of her words. This was more than just a relic. It was a piece of her world, her very soul, and to access its secrets, they would have to unite their spirits fully, merging their thoughts, their emotions, their very beings. Are you ready? She asked, her voice soft yet unwavering. He nodded, a sense of determination settling over him. I'm with you. She extended her hand toward the relic, and he did the same. As their fingers touched its surface, a surge of energy shot through them, a wave of sensation that left him breathless. The relic's light expanded, enveloping them in a cocoon of warmth and brilliance, pulling them into a realm that defied time and space. They stood in a vast expanse of light, surrounded by visions of Lyra's people, a civilization filled with beauty and complexity, a world of vibrant landscapes and towering cities, of lives intertwined in harmony. He could feel their thoughts, their dreams, their love for one another, a collective memory that resonated with a deep, aching sadness. But there was darkness too, a shadow that crept through the visions, a reminder of the choices that had led to their downfall. He saw their thirst for knowledge, their ambition, their desire to unlock the secrets of the universe, and he saw the consequences, the destruction that had followed, the lives lost, the world that had crumbled under the weight of their own hubris. The vision shifted, showing him Lyra's life, a young guardian, chosen to protect the relic, bound by duty and love for her people. He felt her loneliness, the centuries spent in solitude, the longing for connection that had haunted her through the ages, and he understood, in a way that words could never capture, the depth of her sacrifice, the strength it took to carry her people's legacy alone. As the visions faded, he felt her presence beside him, her essence merging with his, their spirits intertwining in a bond that transcended physical form. He could feel her thoughts, her emotions, her very soul, and he knew that she could feel his, the moments of joy, of sorrow, of regret, and hope. In that shared space, they were no longer separate. They were one, bound by a connection that went beyond time and space, a bond that pulsed with a quiet, enduring strength. The relic's light intensified, and he felt its energy flood into them, filling them with a knowledge that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The memories of her people, their history, their wisdom, all flowed into him, and he sensed the depth of what they had left behind, a legacy that was now his to carry as well. As the light began to fade, they found themselves back in the lake, the relic hovering between them, its glow softer, more serene. The song had changed, no longer haunting but filled with a gentle warmth, a harmony that echoed their connection, their unity. Lyra looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude and something deeper, a quiet joy that spoke of an unspoken promise. You are no longer just a visitor, Carter. You are part of this place now, part of my world. He smiled, feeling a sense of belonging that filled the emptiness he had carried for so long. And you're no longer alone, he said softly, reaching for her hand. Whatever happens, we face it together. They stood in silence, the relic's light casting a soft glow over them, a reminder of the bond they had forged, the legacy they had embraced. The lake was no longer a place of trials but a sanctuary, a home filled with memories and purpose. As they turned to leave the lake, Carter felt a quiet peace settle over him, a sense of fulfillment that went beyond his quest for knowledge. He had found something far greater, an understanding, a purpose, a bond that would guide him through the rest of his life. And as they walked together into the depths of the cave, hand in hand, he knew that he had found not just a relic, but a connection that would endure beyond the stars, a bond that would live on in the silent song of the lake, forever intertwined with her legacy. Years passed, but the song of the lake remained, a quiet melody woven into the air, resonating with the memories Carter and Lyra had shared. Together, they watched over the relic, their bond deepening with each passing day, their connection a constant reminder of the trials they had overcome. The lake became their sanctuary, a place where human and alien histories intertwined, their joined legacy echoing through the water's silent depths. And on quiet nights, beneath the starlit sky, Carter could feel the presence of Lyra's people, a comforting warmth that filled the cavern. He knew that, though they were gone, their memories and their spirit lived on within the relic, bound to each other and to the lake. Carter and Lyra became guardians not just of the relic, but of a story that transcended time. A silent promise whispered through the ages,